attendance started slowing down. So again, welcome everybody for attending the Barnum Park Courts Renovation public meeting. I think we have a lot of good information for you tonight, so we will get started. Go to the next screen. And we'll turn it over to Diego to go over welcomes for our Spanish speakers.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mercy. Good evening, everyone. My name is Diego Pons. I'm here today with the Community Language Cooperative. So as always, thanks for having us at your meeting. Today, we're going to commit ourselves to practice language justice. So all this means is that we're here so we can help create a space for people to participate and engage in the language of their heart, which is just simply the language that each feel most comfortable in. So we'll use simultaneous interpretation to help create the space in English and in Spanish today. So once I finish saying this in English, I'll repeat it in Spanish. At that moment, we'll turn on the interpretation. Once interpretation is turned on, you'll be able to see a globe icon that says interpretation there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So please select that globe icon when it appears on your screen, and please select your preferred language. If you happen to be joining today's meeting on your cell phone or your tablet, I'll ask you to please look for the More button or the 3 dots button in order to select your preferred language that way. So if you're not fully bilingual, I'll ask you to please select a preferred language, just in case anyone were to say something in the opposite language, so you like to know what they're saying. But if you are bilingual, then you can just feel free to listen to everyone in their original language, and you won't have to select your language channel. As always, when you select your language, you can check the original audio, so you don't have to be hearing both languages at the same time. As always, I like to remind English speakers just to please speak at a conversational level. Please don't feel the need like you need to speak slowly for me, because you don't, but please make sure that you don't pick up your reading speed or that you talk too fast for us to keep on track. Thank you for that. Buenos días a todos y todas. Mi nombre es Diego Pons. Yo estoy aquí de parte de la Cooperativa Comunitaria de Justicia del Lenguaje. Como siempre, gracias por invitarnos hoy a su reunión. Los organizadores de esta reunión se han comprometido hoy a servir la justicia del lenguaje, y como siempre, esto significa que queremos crear un espacio para que todas las personas puedan participar e involucrarse en el idioma de su corazón, que es simplemente el idioma en que todas las personas se sientan más cómodas. Y hoy vamos a utilizar la interpretación simultánea para poder crear este espacio aquí en Zoom en inglés y en español. Cuando yo termine de decir esto, vamos a activar la interpretación. Ya cuando la interpretación está activada, usted va a poder observar un icono de un globo terráqueo que dirá interpretación ahí abajo en la derecha de su pantalla. Por favor, seleccione ese icono del globo terráqueo cuando aparezca en su pantalla, y por favor seleccione su idioma preferido. Pero si usted está asistiendo a esta reunión en su celular o en su tableta, le voy a pedir que por favor busque la opción que dice More, que quiere decir más, o el botón de 3 puntos para que usted pueda seleccionar su idioma preferido de esa manera. Y si usted no es completamente bilingüe, le voy a pedir que por favor seleccione su idioma preferido para que pueda utilizar la interpretación cuando alguien está hablando en el otro idioma. Pero si usted sí es bilingüe, entonces se puede sentir libre hoy de escuchar a todos en su idioma original. No tienen que seleccionar ningún canal de idioma y no tienen que escuchar mi voz. Y como siempre, cuando usted seleccione su idioma, puede hacer clic en silenciar la de original para no escuchar ambos idiomas al mismo tiempo. Muchas gracias.
Okay, interpretation is on.
Mercy, you're muted.
Almost made it without doing that. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Diego, for helping us out tonight. So we're just going to go over some quick features of the Zoom meeting, and then we will go over the agenda, and then I will turn it over to our partners at Livable. So at the bottom left corner, that's where you can unmute and unmute yourself. We will have everybody muted until we ask for feedback, and then if you raise your hand, which you can see is a feature at the bottom of your screen, then we will unmute you, and hopefully we get some good dialogue going about the concepts we're going to present tonight. And then over to the right, you will see the chat feature. So please feel free to put in any comments there. And we also will be manning the question and answer box if you have any specific questions that you want answered by the end of the presentation. And then obviously, if we do not have the answer, we will make sure to get back to you with the answer. think that covers it. Next slide. So then just welcome, and don't know if I said this when I was muted, but I'm Mercy Wright. I'm the project manager for Denver Parks Department. So welcome again to the Barnum public meeting. Tonight we will do meeting objectives. We'll go over the project scope and schedule, review existing conditions and site analysis. We'll review the results of our public outreach summary, which was a survey that went out to the public about a month ago. We'll discuss the concepts for what we plan to do at Barnum South, then do Q&A at the end. So with that, I think I will turn it over to Livable and we can start going. Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you so much, Mercy. So to kick us off, we'll just kind of touch on key meeting objectives, which is, of course, to get your feedback and really hear your thoughts about the concepts that we're going to present, any additional thoughts that we have yet to consider as we move forward in the design process. There's a lot that we're excited to share with you tonight, and we'll kick it off with a quick look at what the general scope of our project is. So looking here is kind of the southern portion of Barnum Park, and we're looking at mainly these existing facilities here, the existing tennis court, existing basketball court, the play pit area, and then there's also work that we're looking to improve connectivity all through here. So that's in the form of a new pathway that would allow you to walk along the perimeter of the park and connect into the sidewalk network. A quick overview of project schedule. We're currently in concept design. We spent the last few months looking at the site, kind of taking care to understand what the existing conditions are, and really look at what types of opportunities and constraints there are on our project site. We also did our first public survey, an online survey, and I'm sure many of you were able to give your thoughts to that, where we asked a little bit about how you currently use the courts and what kind of park features you were excited about in the future. And so tonight we'll be really trying to inform the rest of the concept design. So we've purposely set this meeting somewhere in the middle to really get some initial work completed that you can respond to, but definitely want your feedback for how that will influence what the final concept is. And then from there, we'll move into the final design of the improvements and on to construction, likely kind of mid 2023. So what we found for existing conditions and the site analysis, we're looking at that zoomed in portion that is our study area. You can see that with the dark dashed line. Some of the key access points that are existing today and kind of that existing path network. Some of the key takeaways from our inventory of existing conditions were that there are many steep slopes that are pretty characteristic, especially on this southern portion of the site. The tennis courts, basketball court, and play pit are very much kind of carved into the topography. And that will be a major constraint for how we re-envision this area and look to put new courts in, is just being sensitive to those steep slopes. And then also the circulation that currently accesses a lot of these amenities is informal or not accessible, and we're certainly interested in addressing that as well. So if we just move on, site analysis could really be more understanding kind of what our how we take all the information from what we've taken in the inventory and how we use that to start thinking about design. So in this diagram, we're talking about keeping potential amenities in those flatter zones that are required for various court activities, whether there's opportunity to expand with additional picnic areas, or whether we can even utilize the steeps areas to create terrace seating and other gathering opportunities. So we're trying to take some of that information and direct it towards possible outcomes. In addition, we have a huge opportunity to better connect these courts and improve the circulation of this portion of the park in general. To just take a look at the results of the public outreach. So this was our first survey. We had 65 responses, so we definitely thank you for that. Thank you for your participation. Of a quick overview of kind of what the demographics of our respondees looked like. We had a quarter that were representing Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish people, which was great to see, and a good mix of age range. What was also interesting is just how local a lot of the respondents were, living either less than a mile or 1 to 3 miles away from the park. We also asked you how you often access Barnum Park, and the vast majority replied by foot. Therefore, that definitely works to further inform the need for improved circulation, particularly tying into that existing network of sidewalks, since there are so many people who are using this portion of Barnum Park that are arriving on foot. And then this was also very interesting. We asked how often you use the current facilities at Barnum Park, and the largest number of responses indicated that they're currently using the tennis courts for skateboarding. There was still good participation and use of the basketball court facility, and then fewer of related to use of the play pit or use of the tennis courts for tennis. Based on when we started to ask questions about the future and kind of what court-based sports you'd like to consider as part of the improvements that this project will cover, there was actually a lot of people chose to write in an answer. 80% of our write-in responses said that they desired a skate park, and we see that being consistent with the current use of the tennis courts as a skate facility. And then 25% said that they would prefer new tennis courts, and 21% said that they would really like to see pickleball as kind of our top 3 front runners. And then there was a bit of a drop off of fewer respondees had interests in futsal, badminton, roller hockey, and paddle tennis. And then finally, that second portion of our online survey talked about future park desires. And so some of the things that were the most heavily responded for the write-in answer of what you would like to see in Barnum Park in the next 10 years, you start seeing quite a bit of overlap with skate parks, skateboarding, festivals, events, courts, and tennis. So we certainly are going to, this is more forward thinking, of course, for future projects, but still very informative for anything we can do for steps we can take right now to help make these things a reality. So I just want to, I don't know if we'll pause for just a second But right now we'll start talking about the alternative concepts, and I'll just note that there are two, and I'll go through both of them. You will have an opportunity to see them side by side, and then we'll talk about kind of a more informal discussion afterward. But we will ask you some questions about what you're thinking. So just be aware of your chat function and the Q&A, and don't forget to raise your hand when we get to those discussion questions if you'd like to comment. So to kick it off, alternative one is called community courts. And this is an overview of that entire south area. We'll do a zoomed in plan that looks a little bit closer about what's all included in this, but this concept really focuses on packing in as many core facilities as we can within our study area. So this concept has additional 8-foot wide pathways. There would be ADA access to all of these proposed court facilities, a courts hub for waiting and gathering if you arrive and you're waiting to get access to one of the courts or for a game to finish up. It has a nice picnic area for that. This concept also explores whether or not the basketball court is painted in a special way that might encourage additional community uses like events or festivals, and whether you could have a pop-up event in a space like this to help start thinking more towards the future and some of the things that you'd like to see in Barnum Park in the next 10 years. And then we also have an additional relocated picnic area up by the closer to the entrance of the dog park off of Julian Street. The current one being kind of over in this area in pretty poor condition. So this would look to move that over here and create a new picnic area. We propose this idea of maybe some bleacher seating there's a slope that between this pathway up here and the basketball court or the current elevation of the play pit. So whether we can get some seating opportunities so that you can watch a pickup game of basketball going on. And then also kind of thinking about if the basketball court was to move up to this location and be more prominent with the street and more prominent with access off of Julian, that we could repurpose the area that the basketball used to be, and that could be a future pickleball courts location, thinking that we could fit 2 pickleball courts in that spot someday, and then we would essentially repair or pretty much demolish and then put in brand new tennis courts in the existing spot that they are today. So with that, I just want to take a quick pause and pose some discussion questions. The first being, we'd really like to hear what you like most about this concept, things that this concept is doing well, or things that you're excited about.
So feel free to raise your hand so we know if you want to speak. Otherwise, you can put something in the chat if you don't not want to share your voice. We have one in the chat of pickleball. This person did not get to respond to the survey.
There will be another opportunity to comment as well if everyone's excited to see the next concept. But I would also, oh, and then sorry, there is one other addition in the chat asking about skate and whether it's being considered. Skate is absolutely being considered given the heaviness, that heavy response in the public survey, and we will get to the next concept in just a little bit, but I just want to pause while we have the chance to talk about any other things that you might not like about this concept, or anything specific that is a concern to you with this concept.
There was one more of the addition of walkways and picnic areas. And then others, I think, are wanting to see the next slide. So,
Yep. Without further ado, then.
oh, Todd, did you have something?
No, I was just saying, let's move on. Yeah, we'll go to the
Yeah.
next slide. Great feedback.
Yeah, no, thank you everybody for providing that feedback. So our alternative 2 is called future flexibility, and a lot of the same overarching goals with wider connectivity, but you'll notice our court focus area looks quite a bit different. So to unpack this one a little bit more, what we have in future flexibility is the thought that we could deliver some court facilities while leaving some open space for future planning, whether that is something that happens on a slightly different timeline or it's implemented later. So in this concept, we're still proposing those 8-foot pathways, and we're still looking to heavily improve access and circulation. What's a little bit different about this one is instead of having really loopy pathways to be ADA accessible, we're actually proposing this kind of central elevated spine that would be kind of a unique picnic area and would face both the basketball court and the proposed all-wheel area. And so what would happen here is this path wouldn't change its height. If you're familiar with the park, what would happen is this path would kind of snake down a little bit. And so you would have this nice viewing area where you could look out, view the all-wheel area, and then there might be some bleacher seating that comes down off of that. So the basketball court is lower, and so is the all-wheel area, and this is kind of a high ridge point. And then you would step down. So there would still be accessible access if you took the perimeter path or came off of Julian. This would all be ADA accessible, so you'd still have accessible access to both this all-wheel area and the basketball court. This would just be a kind of additional experience and a different type of picnic area, if you will. And then we still have this, the basketball court would get demolished, but we would leave that as flexible open space. Whether or not that becomes more courts in the future, or whether it becomes a picnic area or is stayed as a nice flat portion of lawn space is entirely up to future feedback. But that is kind of the vision for this concept, so that all-wheel area, trying to find a kind of easily accessible and a big enough area to make that worthwhile and fun. And then, so in this concept, we are essentially kind of taking the top answer from our public survey and really prioritizing that as the most important over trying to provide a brand new tennis facility. And so similar questions, and would love to see people respond either in the chat or by raising your hand what you like most about this alternative.
I'm not seeing any feedback or questions on this one yet. Oh, there's one. Question about how big we think the open space would be.
If I were to guess, I think the open space is shown at approximately 50 feet by 60 to 70 feet right now. So it's pretty sizable. We don't have a little picnic table in this concept to just show based on scale like how big that really is, but it is substantial.
Yeah, it would be large enough to kick a small, still small, but large enough to kick a soccer ball around, but not, the size of a field.
Definitely.
A regulation field. Some other good comments there about the all-wheel area as a possibility for a skate park, and some excitement around that. And then a comment as well about liking option 2 and supporting the idea of a skate park.
Great. Just to show those side by side as any as additional comments trickle in. This slide shows alternative 1 right next to alternative 2, just for some easier comparison of the pros and cons of each. And we'd certainly love to hear anybody's thoughts in the audience about what you think the pros or cons of each one are, or if there's any elements from one that you'd really like to see somehow incorporated into the other.
And it looks like Mercy asked if everybody can write number 1 or number 2 for the concept they prefer in the chat. That way we have a better idea, especially if you're on here with a different name. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks everyone for all your feedback as we're kind of seeing the preferences come in. Good comment about how the all-wheel will get more eyes in the park, more activity maybe. Great, another good comment about, I think it's someone mentioning it's a good opportunity for the middle school kids to do at that location, which is a great observation.
Mm-hmm. Great, and I know it's great to hear too that we were able to capture some people who didn't have a chance to provide feedback on the survey. So that's always really encouraging that we've managed to share this project with those and give them an opportunity to have their voice and have their say about what they think about the future of this area of the park. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah, great. Thanks everyone for all the great feedback. These are still pretty basic concepts. So I mean, Melanie's going to talk about next steps, but they will get more detailed after we get the feedback from the community.
Yep, absolutely. Are there any other final questions or thoughts that we can any general questions that people are interested to know the answer to or would like to get more information about. We have a few minutes to answer any of those.
It would be great to hear some voices. If you're a neighbor or if you've used the courts or you're excited by one, just hearing how you think it would be used helps us a lot. So don't be shy. Just raise your hand and I will allow you to speak. Like if I smile, yeah, Jen. Okay, let me allow you to speak. Hold on one second. Okay, you should, there we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Great. So I don't remember if I filled out the survey, but after reading the results of the survey that you posted, I'm definitely in the camp that has used the tennis court for skateboarding. And I think that alternative 2 would be great if the skate or the all-wheel area would be used future looking as a skate park. When I have been there have been others there also using the tennis court as a skate park. And I doubt that those folks maybe have taken the survey to count toward that percentage that you posted. But I feel that there probably are a lot more folks that that didn't take the survey that would be in that category as well in the neighborhood.
Great. That's great feedback. Thanks, Jen. There's another good comment here. Well, one about 2 high schoolers who are attending with their parent, I'm assuming, also voting for option 2. And then there's another good question there, Melanie, about would Council 2 be able to have the colorfully painted basketball courts, like we're showing in option 1. So a little bit of a kind of hybrid there.
Yeah, absolutely. If that is, and I think that's what we would love to hear too, is are there any specific things in one of the concepts that you think would be beneficial to try to incorporate into the other one? So the painted basketball court is definitely totally on the table at this time. So if that's part of option 1 that you actually really think should be in option 2 to try to blend these together, we'd love to hear more of what you all think about those types of combinations. But yes, I think painting the basketball court in a interesting way or allowing it to have a more vibrant appeal is definitely an option.
And also, I'll jump in there and say sometimes we do that in partnership with Arts and Venue because of the nature of this project. It does qualify for art and venue input. Sometimes they do a separate sculpture or art piece, and then sometimes we incorporate into the project. So we definitely can look into that too, of getting that incorporated to make it more vibrant.
Yeah, and I just saw a good comment from Jeff here in the chat that the tennis courts are obviously in horrible condition, that they haven't really been used for tennis for quite some time, and it's hard to tell. There obviously was still some support for just implementing new tennis in the online survey, and so it really is a tricky balancing act to try to provide a good mix of amenities for this community and this park.
And obviously DPR is always working on future planning for usage of the park. So just because it may not be done in this phase or with this project doesn't mean that there's not opportunity in the future to expand programming or to add amenities too.
Did anybody else want to speak? Feel free to raise your hand and I'll let you. Great. 1 second. Chala. I said that correctly. Okay, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hey there, sorry, I'm using Chayla's login because I was driving. My name is Kay. So there's two of us, but we're two people here. I'm the one who's chimed in saying my kids would be excited about the skate park. Actually, my older son was like, there is a skate park there. There is a skate park. And I was like, no, it's a tennis court. And he looked on Google Maps. He's like, what? Skate park? It's not a skate park? So just giving you the voice of a couple of young people. I didn't see the survey, which is fine. But I'm excited that this project is happening because we've been talking about it for maybe a decade, since before the ped bridge was built and before the dog park went in. So really happy that this is happening.
Yeah. Great. And Kay, you are correct. It's both a tennis court and a skate park.
Yep. Multi-purpose, right?
That's right. It's to Jeff's point, it's a tennis court that doesn't have nets anymore. It's not functional. And they, there's some temporary skate elements out there.
Yeah, great.
And then just to provide some clarity with the Allwill area, we do have some pretty sizable constraints as far as grading. So we are trying to add as a fun area for skate features as possible. But, I do want to just make sure everybody knows it won't be a probably premier full-on skate park. We're going more to just keep in the spirit of what people were able to transform the tennis courts into. And, we, as DPR, definitely appreciate that was the neighborhood used that area for a different purpose and kept it up and clean. So we just wanted to honor that. And so it will have hopefully some nice skate features, will not be maybe the biggest skate park in the city.
All right. Any other comments or feedback? Looking at the list.
I think if we don't have any new comments, we can keep it moving.
Thank you to those that spoke. We appreciated that.
Absolutely. So just as a little recap on where we're headed, if you recall, we're about halfway through concept design. So we'll take what we heard tonight and we'll look at the two concepts and work on creating one preferred option that will kind of combine the feedback we got tonight with the feedback that we got from our last survey. And then we'll check back in with the community, likely with another survey just to show you what the results were. And then we'll move into final design, which is when we'll really get into the details of how all of the improvements will be built and prepare for construction to start mid-2023. Mercy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just reiterating, we appreciate you guys spending the evening and logging in to meet with us about this. And, just always like to make it clear that these are just concepts, so things will undoubtedly change. And then just, making sure everything is in line with budgets. So we will definitely try and get as many features as we can in this phase of construction to keep Barnum a thriving, fun park for park users. So thank you.
Yep, and definitely want to reiterate thanks for taking time to come to this meeting. And for those of you who were able to share, we certainly appreciate that as well. If you have any questions that come up later on and you'd like to ask, this presentation will be posted so you can access this, but you can contact Mercy. This is her email. And also, if you just want to stay up to date on project progress and various other efforts from Denver Parks and Recreation, you can visit this website, denvergov.org/park projects. But generally, we just want to say thank you. And if there's nothing else, we can close out our webinar.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to close out. Have a good night.
Thanks,
All right.
Laura.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.